Now in this database management system class, the first question comes into the mind that what do you mean by data, right? How you'll define a data. So data could be any distinct piece of information, usually formatted in a special way. Data can exist in a variety of form as number or text or piece of paper, as bits and bytes stored in electronic memory, that is also called data, or as facts stored in the person's mind, that is also called data. Strictly speaking, data is the plural of datum. So data is nothing but the plural form of datum, right? Generally, we use data as in a usual way of speaking, but it is a plural form of datum, a single piece of information. In practical, however, people use data as both the singular and plural form of the word. So data is nothing but some distinct piece of information that is called data. And these information could be written in the form of numbers, text, something written in the piece of paper, bits and bytes which are stored into the electronic memory, or the facts that are stored into the person's mind. These all called data. Okay. And actually, right now, when we are communicating, it is also generating the data, right? So it is generating the data, and this data will be converted into some form. Through the internet, you can actually see those data. So strictly speaking, data is everywhere. Whenever we see our phone, whenever we call up any phone, any to anyone, whenever we text anyone, whenever we WhatsApp anyone, it is generating data, right? So data is everywhere right now. Now the thing is that let's go to the second part of database management system is database. We know what do you mean by data, right? Now let's go to the concept of database. What do you mean by database? So a database is an organized collection of data, right? Database is nothing but is an organized collection of data. The data is typically organized to model relevant aspect of reality. For example, the availability of room in the hostel, in the way that support processes requiring this information. For example, finding a hotel with vacancies. So what do you mean by database? Database is nothing but collection of data, right? And collection of similar type of data will put into the database. Let's say I want to create the database of the students, right? So what information should be there into the database of the student? Definitely a student database. So we have one data which is related to the student. Let's say the name, its roll number, its semester, its branch, right? Its phone number. All those things are nothing but one record, and this one record is nothing but the data about the student. And we have many multiple data related to it means I need the student data only, right, to make the student database. So I should have the data, the collection of data that should be similar, or the property should be similar, and will make or will organize those data. Organized data is called database. Okay. And when we create the database, it will give us support to find out some information. Let's say with the help of the hotel rooms database, and we have the room, right? So what should be in the room database? I should have the room number, in which floor it is, whether it is a AC room or non-AC room, whether it is a suite room or the normal room, right? Luxury room, in that category. So what type of room is? So all the property related to the room, uh, when we are writing about a room, that is nothing but one record. And we have multiple record. Why? Because we have multiple room in the hotel. So let's say we have 100 rooms in the hotel. So we have 100 records of the rooms. Now, why we keep this record and will put into the database? The reason is so that we can find it out some valuable information, like how many rooms are vacant right now, how many rooms are occupied right now, how many rooms are the AC room, how many rooms are the non-AC room, how many rooms are the luxury room, how many rooms are the normal rooms. So about all those information we'll put together and will make the database so that we can get some information after that. So we'll collect the data, the similar type of data, will make the collection of that. Why we do that? The reason is so that we'll get some valuable information afterwards. So that's why the database is there, and that is a use of the database. Now let's go to the third part of the concept, which is called database management system. Okay. So we are here to learn about database management system. So we know what do you mean by data. We know what do you mean by database. Now let's talk about database management system. Now, as the name suggests, it is a management system. Means those database could be managed by some sort of application, some sort of software. And that application or that software which work on those database so that we can add some data very easily, we can remove some data very easily, we can do some query into the database so that we can get some valuable information. So the database management system is responsible for managing the database. So when we are talking about managing the database, so here comes how we'll define the database, how we'll create the database, how we'll do the query into the database, how we'll update the database, and how the administration process will be done into the database. So all those things when comes together, that is the responsibility of the database management system, which will manage the database. Okay, let's go to the formal definition. So the database management system or DBMS are specially designed applications that interact with the user, other applications, and the database itself to capture and analyze the data. The general purpose database management system is a software system defined to allow the definition, creation, querying, update, and administration of the database. The primary goal of the database management system is to provide a way to store and retrieve database information that is both convenient and efficient. So, what is the responsibility of database management system? So, database management system, the responsibility of this particular application or the system software is to define the database, which type of data we are putting into the database, to define it, to update it, to query on it, to make the administration into the database. All those things can be done by database management system so that the storage and retrieval of data will be very easy. See, when we'll not use database or when we'll put the data randomly to retrieve the data, it is quite difficult or it will take a lot of time to get our desired result. So that's why if we'll have the database management system, so the storage as well as retrieval of those data will be very easy and efficiently we can do that. So about that, you can understand when we'll see the difference between the traditional file system and the database management system. So there are some well-known database management system which includes MySQL, uh, Postgres SQL, SQLite, Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Access, Oracle, SAP, DBase, FoxPro, IBM DB2, FileMaker Pro. So all those are different type of databases. Right now we have some more databases like MongoDB and all those things, which will be used for different type of data. Okay. So there are different type of databases available. Many people, many companies are responsible for creating all those databases, and they are creating it. As you can see, there are different versions of the database management system. So any of the database management system we can use. Some of them are open source, some of them are proprietary, so you have to take the licenses of it. Okay. So that is all about database management system. Now let's talk about the database systems applications. So what are the different applications related to database management system? So in today's scenario, okay, if you are creating any application, any software, without the database, it is not at all possible. So the backend of any software, any application is nothing but the database. So database is everywhere and its application is also vast. So database could be used in the enterprise information like sales, for customer, for product, purchase information, all those things will be there in the sales. Then we have accounting for payment, for receipt, for account balance, for asset and other accounting information will have the database, right? Human resources for information about employee, its salary, its payroll, taxes, benefits, and other, and as well as generating the paycheck, we have to have the database for that. In the manufacturing industry, we have supply chain and for tracking product of items in factories, inventory in the item in the warehouse and stores, and order for items for those we need database. Online retailing for sales data noted above, plus online order tracking, generation of recommendation list, maintenance of online product, evolution. So for all those things, we need actually the database management system. In the banking and the finance, we require the database has to be maintained for customer information, account, loan, and banking transactions. Credit card transaction for purchase on credit card, generation of monthly statement. We need the database. In the finance for storing information about holding, sales, and purchase of financial instrumentation, such as stocks and bonds. Also for storing real-time market data to enable online trading by customers and automated trading by the firm. So we have different types of applications in which we use database. And as I told you, any software you pick up, without the database, it is not at all possible. So somewhere, somehow, any application need the database, and database is used to store the data in an organized way and to retrieve the data in an efficient way. So that is the usefulness of the database. Why we use it? Database management system. First, to store the data as well as to organize the data very easily with the help of database management system. And we can very easily we can retrieve the data. So ultimately, why we are storing the data? Why we are storing the data? To retrieve it at some point of time. So we are having the database of the student or database of the universities. Why we do that? so that at some point of time we can retrieve those data, we can refer those data, we can get some valuable information from those data. So that's why we have database management system, and it is the responsibility of database management system to manage the data, right? So as we have just now discussed, what do we mean by data, right? So data is nothing but some distinct piece of information. It may be numerical, it may be text, it may be the combination of both. It may be bits and bytes stored into the electronic memory. It may be the information which is stored into the mind of the person, that is called data. Now the database is nothing but the collection of similar type of data is called database, and we store generally similar type of data in an organized way so that the retrieval will be, or to get the information from those databases will be very easy. Then we have database management system. So management system is all about system, the application which will do the management of the data, which will store the data, which will mm, create the database, which will store the data, which type of data we are going to store. It is looking for all those things. It is also looking for the administrative part of it, means what are the people who can access those data, right? So access can be defined by the administrative part of the database management system. So that is also one thing that could be done with the help of database management system. And retrieval of the data will be very easily when we do any query. Let's say I want the name of the student who got more than 80% of the CGPA, or more than 80% of the marks. So definitely it will give me that particular marks. Or if I have the employee database and I want the average salary of the employee database, it can give me. Let's say I want the I want the data of how many loans are there in my bank, right? What are the loans that are inactive right now? So that information I can get very easily when we are using database management system. So all those type of query we can do with the help of that, and it is making our life easy. It is maintaining the data very easy, and retrieval is also be done very easily. As we all know, that database is required in each and every application, and so it is an integral part of any application. So when you go in 2 year after your graduation, when you'll go to the firm, and any software firm, any software company, so you will be allotted some project, right? So you will see that most of the people working on designing the database, and most of the people are working on the database perspective of the application. So database is an important and integral part of any software and any application in today's generation. So that's why we are learning this particular course, so that you'll get familiar with the concept of database management system. Then we have different application, like in the universities, as we have just discussed. For student information, we can make the database management system. For course registration and maintaining the grades, we can create the database management system. And additional to standard enterprises information such as human resource and accounting, we can use database management system. Then in the airline also, for reservation, for scheduling information, airline one among the first to use database in the geographical distributed manner. So that is a concept that we'll see later on, that what are the different type of databases. So one is the distributed database, so about that we'll see. So in the airline, we can use it. Telecommunication company, they are using it to keeping the record of the calls made, generating the bill, right? Maintaining balance on the prepaid calling cards, and storing information about the communication networks. So all those information. could be maintained by the telecommunication companies also, and they will also require so database. So you can see that whatever area you can pick up, we require the database. Why? To store the data, to retrieve the data, to manage the data very easily. We need the database management system. Now let's see the file system and database management system. What do you mean by these two, or what do you understand by the file system and what do you understand by the database management system? So file system is nothing but to storing the data in the form of files. So let's say I have your data, let's say the student data, and I'm putting into the file, into the, let's say, Word file, or let's say the Excel file. And when I storing the data into that particular file, so what are the problem that I'll face? And when I'll store those data, the same data, into the database management system, so what advantage I'll get? So about that, we'll see in this particular slide. So the file system is nothing but the collection of individual file accessed by application program. So let's say I have created a software which is interacting with the data, and for data storage, I have used the file system. So C and C++ will use files, right? So file will open the file, will put some data, will append some data into the file, and then we'll close the file. In the same way, when we want to retrieve some data, so we'll open the file, we'll retrieve the data from the file, and then we'll close the file. So if we are making these type of systems, then what are the problem that we'll face? And if we'll use the database instead of that, so what are the advantages that we'll get? So it is listed here. So common limitations of some file system based database are these. So what are those? Spread and isolated data, right? So if I have the data, let's assume that I have the data of the student, and this student data is there in one file, and I have another file which is also having the same amount of data. But the thing is that one file I made for evaluating your attendance, and one file I made for evaluating your marks. So in both, I need your data, right? I need your name and the roll number. In the attendance, I have the columns which will have the dates, right? But if I'll have the marks database, so over there also I have the roll number and the name, and there is a marks of, let's say, quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3, and there is a marks in the assignments, there is a marks in the mid semester and the end semester. So the data that is there is, you can see these data are separated from both. It belongs to the same set of people. Both attendance and the marks belongs to the same set of people, but both are separated. Both are different files, and both are isolated to each other. If I am doing any change in one file, it is not going to affect another file. Both are isolated. Now here what will happen is, we'll make the coordinating and incorporating and representing data is difficult. So coordination is difficult. Why? Because both are different files. Incorporation means, can we change any data here? It will reflect here. No, not at all possible. Let's say in one file I want to change the name. Let's say I have written the wrong name in the file. So if I am changing in one file of the student name, and I'm changing or updating in one file, it is not going to affect the other file, right? But what we want the consistency in both the data. If we have the student whose name is something, the same name will be there in the other file also. But here what will happen is, because they are non-cooperative files, means they are not connected with each other. So when we do any changes in one file, it is not going to reflect in other file. Representing data is difficult, as well as when we want to represent the data by both the file, it is very, very difficult. Let's say I want the attendance also, that how many percentage of attendance they have, and I want the how many percentage of marks they have. At the same time, it is not at all possible. Second problem with the file system is the data duplication. So in one file, I have the roll number and the name. Another file, I have also roll number and the name. So we have duplicate data in both the files, and it is a waste of space and can lead to data integrity inconsistency problems. So as I told you, inconsistency, how it will lead to inconsistency. Let's assume that one student has changed its branch, and it is no more in my class. So I need to delete that particular student who are not in my class. So when I delete in one file, it is not going to delete in another file, right? So I have to delete in both the files separately. So that is making the file system inconsistent. Means if I do any updation in one file, it is not going to reflect in another file, right? I have to do it separately. So that is set by this data duplication and data, and there is a waste of space also. When I am storing the duplicate data, definitely there is a waste of space. Next is application program dependency. It is very dependent on the application program. So in the program, how I have defined the file, it is we require those type of thing into the file. So same file, if I want to use for the different application, I have to make the application according to the file, right? And I have to do changes in the application so that I can access those files. So it is the file systems. In the file system, the files are dependent on the application. It is not at all independent with the application. It is totally dependent on the application. So the changes to a single file can require changes to the numerous application program. So we have to do the changes in different applications also when we want to access the same file system. Concurrent access anomalies. So there are some anomalies, and one of the anomalies, concurrent access. Let's say I want to access two files concurrently. It is very difficult to access two files concurrently. That is a problem. Then mismatched file. So there is a different file like CSV file, text file, Word file, Excel file. There are different type of file, right? So there may be the mismatch of the files. Let's say some of the data are stored in the CSV file, some of the data is stored in the text file, some of the data is stored in the doc file. So there are different files, right? And there is a mismatch of the file, and it is very difficult with the application to cope up with different type of files. Security problem is also there. Means there is no way we can restrict the people to access the file or access the data into the file. So we cannot apply any type of security mechanism in the file system that you are restricted to have those data. So let's say in a file, I want, let's say if in a file, I have the information of all the students in the university, means I have the information of all the branches. Now in one file, I want to restrict that only first 60, let's say the first 60 is CSE. So the first 60, the CSE student, I want to allow to one faculty. Another set of 60, let's say the ETC, I want to allow to another set of faculty. So can I do that in the file system? If all the data is in one file, it is not at all possible. But if we have all the data into the database, we can actually do that to restrict the access through the access control policies, and we can grant the access, right? So the security is also an issue related to file system. Now, against to those limitations, let's go to the advantages of the database management system. First of all, data consistency and integrity will be maintained. Integrity means if you want to change any data or if you want to update any data, you have to take the permission of the database administrator. which is an entity in the database management system, which will restrict your access to the database. Means whether you want to read the data, whether you want to write the data, right? So all those things will be done by the database management system. So for you also it happened, right? When you have been shown grades, you cannot change the grade, right? Because it is just for viewing, and for us it is showing the same database. We can update the marks. So for us it is for accessing, for us accessing are different. Accessing, you can say limitation is different. For you, accessing limitation is different. So the consistency is maintained, and integrity is also maintained. Means unauthorized changes in the data is not at all possible. That is called integrity. So by controlling access and minimizing data duplicacy will be minimized into the database management system. So if we have the database management system, the duplicate data, it will not going to take the duplicate data. Application program independence. It is independent to the application program by storing data in a uniform fashion. So that's why it is independent with any set of application. Data sharing is also very easy. By controlling access to data item, many user can access data concurrently. And it is very much possible. Data sharing. If I'll take an example of data sharing, is let's say the booking of railway ticket. So these railway tickets, there are seats, right? And these seats are are available to you, and that is actually shared data. And that shared data could be used concurrently. Means I can book the ticket concurrently, and that is provided by database management system. Checkpoint and recovery, that is also very good concept. So whenever we think that our database is going to the inconsistency after doing that particular transaction, so we can put that checkpoint. And if really it goes to the inconsistency state, I can recover it. Or if we have these database failure occur, then also I can recover it through the checkpoint and recovery concept. There is a security and privacy also. So when you want to use the database, you should have the security concept, you should have the user and password to get into the database, and then the privacy is also should be maintained. Means you cannot, or I cannot go and see the marks of other subjects, right? So in that way, the privacy is maintained. Multiple view of data, that is also there in the database management system. It means that you just visualize, I'll take an example of multiple view of data. Let's say you all have bank account, right? You all have bank account. So in the banking system, there is, let's say, millions of account. But when you go to the ATM, you can only see your account information, right? So that is nothing but multiple view, depend upon the user. So user can see which data it need to see. That is called multiple view according to the user, right? So that is there. Expandability and flexibility and scalability means we can scale up whenever we possible, whenever it is required. We can scale up, means we can add some more data into it, or we can reduce it. The flexibility is there. Expandability is also there. Reduced application development time once the system is in place. So once your system is built, your database has been managed, your database is created, then to use is very, very simple. Standard enforcement. There are some standards related to the database. Using of the database, there are some standard, and that standard is enforcing the database to maintaining all those things, to maintaining security, to maintaining privacy, to maintaining integrity, to making the consistency into the database, to recover from the failures, right? So all those things will be there by enforcing the standards. So standards are there related to the database management system. So these are all different advantages related to database management system over the file system, traditional file system. There are actually three level of abstraction. Okay, so that is called level of abstraction. There are three level of abstraction available into the database, and there are three levels also. The database has three levels. And so the first level, the bottom level is called physical level, where actually your data is stored. Then we have the logical level, where there is the definition of the data is there. Uh, how you have created the data, that information is there. Then there is a view level. In the view level, no information related to other data is there, or no information related to how data has been created. So there are three levels. If you'll see this particular diagram, the first level of the database is called physical level, where we store actual data. Then there is a logical level, which will tell us that how my data is created, or how you have defined the database, what are the different security features you have used. All those things are there in logical level. And then there is a view level. As you can say, there are different view, multiple view. So one database could be seen by different user in a different way. You can see the same database as as a very limited view you can get. So I have the marks of all the student, but you can see your marks only. So it is your view. So that is called view level. So there is a level of abstraction in the view of data, and that is called architecture of the database. So we have three level in the architecture of the database: physical level, logical level, which is also called conceptual level, and then there is a view level. So what is a physical level? So it is a lowest level of abstraction. Abstraction means hiding the information. So lowest level of abstraction means we are hiding very less information here. Means you have all the data in the physical level. So you're not hiding anything. So that's why it is a lowest level of abstraction. Abstraction is very low. Means hiding is very low because you have all the data. So the lowest level of abstraction describe how the data are actually stored. The physical level describe complex low-level data structure in detail. So how your actual data is stored, that is there in the physical level. Then there is a logical level, that is a next level of abstraction. So here the hiding will be increased, as you can see. Okay, ask the question.
Sir, left in which you have information of all students, sir, is that your view level or the logical level?
So when you see as a student, you are seeing the view level. Okay.
Sir, the information that you see, suppose you have information of all the students, sir, that is the view level or the logic?
Okay, if I am seeing, so this is also a view. This is my view of seeing the database. It is also view level. Clear?
Got it, sir.
Okay. So that is about the physical level, where we have lowest level of abstraction. Then we have logical level, where we have some level of abstraction is there. Means we don't know about how actually data is stored, but we know about many things about the data. So what are the things that we know here is in the logical level. So this is the next level of abstraction describe what data are stored into the database and what relationship exists among these data, that also can be known. Logical level does describe the entire database in terms of the small number of relatively simple structure. Although implementation in the simple structure at the logical level may involve complex physical level structure, the user of the logical level does not need to be aware of this complexity. Database administrator who must decide which information to keep in the database use the logical level of abstraction. So the thing is that this logical level of abstraction is not telling you about the data, but it may tell you some more information, that how your database is there, what are the name of the database that has been created, what is the size of the database. It will tell you about some other information other than the data. Then at last we have the view level. In the view level, this is the highest level of abstraction. Means we don't know about the structure of the data. We don't know about what are the relation between the data. So we don't know about anything in the view level. And this is called highest level of abstraction. Means we are hiding lots of things here. We are just showing the data which is required to that user. So the highest level of abstraction describe only part of the entire database. Even though the logical level uses simple structure, complex remains because of the variety of information stored into the large database. Many users of the database system do not need all these information. Instead, they need to access only the part of the database. The view level of abstraction exists to to simplify their interaction with the data with the system. The system may provide many views for the same database. So, as we can see, view level is the highest level of abstraction, where if user is in the view level, it cannot get any information. Only it will get its own information, or its view, which is defined by the database administrator. So for me, it is defined like I can see all your data. So that is my view. You can see your data, that is your view. Uh, but I, as well as you, don't know about how data is stored, what data structure has been used, what are the relation between the data, that we don't know. You and me don't know about it. We know only the view level. Means in the view level, if there is a user, it can know only the data related to him only. Okay. So that is the three level of abstraction, that is physical level, logical level, which is also called conceptual level, and view. Okay.